Happy
Sounds
Monday, my
good.
love. How
Happy
are
Monday,
you?
girl. It's been a long time.
I
I'm good. How are
know.
you?
Like we literally like we're hitting the ground running at the top of the year, and then after our event, we had to like kind of coast. But yeah, for those of
Roll it
you
back. Yeah.
that are tuning in, this is Miss Manuela Gomez Rhodes. She's a creative entrepreneur, event curator. I feel like she's the queen of brand partnerships, if she believes it or not. And she just knows how to bring the people together and just have a good time. Most
Thank
definitely
you.
businesswoman, super mom, wife. She has all these beautiful titles. And I know it takes some faith and finesse to kind of just, make all of that come together. So thank you so much for sharing your light for the Faith and Finesse Mastermind series.
Thanks so much for the invitation. I'm really, really happy you asked me to be part. I love to support everything that you do, so I'm happy to be here.
Look at that. Yeah, so I'll just get started and just kind of like give a moment of gratitude and just thank God for bringing us here. And I pray that everyone that's a part of this conversation, that's listening, that they get everything that they came for and that they feel empowered and strengthened to continue to push through this year. I know it's going to be a victorious one. And yeah, the more we come into community, the better we can just continue to push through the pain to our purpose. Amen.
Amen.
So, all right. Now, with this being all about how to pivot with faith and finesse, most of us are all entrepreneurs, more so creative entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
So did entrepreneurship choose you or you chose it?
I think I was born with it. I think it's been something that I've done before I even knew what I was doing. I think I always gravitated towards just doing things for myself, not really waiting for somebody's instruction or, you know, I think my very first memory of entrepreneurship is maybe when I first moved to America. This was like 2003 or 2000, yeah, between 2003 and 2004. And I remember my dad worked at this office building, and I was like compelled to make bracelets and go like door to door to every office and try to sell them. So I think that's the first time that I was like, all right, I need money. Let me make it by myself.
Oh my God, that is so cool. Like, I think a lot of us have those like stories of us being kids and just us not knowing it's entrepreneurship. But,
Mm-hmm.
as a child, when you think about like if you were given money for chores or just like you wanting some new shoes or something, you're like, let me just figure out a way to make some money. Not knowing that figuring out a way to make money is essentially you creating revenue, which is entrepreneurship, which is a part of entrepreneurship. But yeah, I know for me, I definitely did my candy business. So it was probably around the same time, actually, 2003, 2004, because I was probably in the 7th grade.
Yeah.
I was about like 12, and I like had my mom take me to Sam's, and I bought all this candy, and I had a candy bag. People would like, I would get the hall pass to like skip and go to people's classes to like do transactions. The finesse was insane. Like,
Yeah.
I like literally people would even get the hall pass to come to my class, and we would like throw the bag at the front door of the classroom when the teacher wasn't looking. It was insane. But yeah, I definitely was counting my coins and like making my $30 a day or whatever I was end up making. It was just, yeah, I mean, both of my parents were entrepreneurs, so
Yeah.
that kind of set
Same.
the tone for me too, just me seeing them being in control of their time.
I think that's the biggest thing. That's a good point you say.
Yeah.
Being in control of your time. I think that's the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, and then just seeing how they're able to do it, just managing family, work, friends. It's just you can just be more flexible. And so that was like the 12-year-old version of yourself. Now with where you are now, what has that transition been like? I mean, you've now graduated high school at the college. I guess we could talk about that pivot, just being an adult. I'm still in this pivot, or there's been like several pivots. But that post high school experience of like, okay, here you go figure life out. What was that like for you once you crossed the stage?
Honestly, it was still very structured because I played tennis. I was an athlete. And I was fortunate to be able to play tennis in college. So that was the constant, I think. So moving from high school, playing varsity and stuff, I was expecting. So it was a transition from um, high school tennis to college tennis, and I feel like everything else was around it.
Yeah.
So, but again, um, I was part of a team, but I was always like a rebellious spirit, I guess. I always wanted to do my own thing, and just fun, find fun ways to make the time go by and things like that. And I think it was really after college that I was like, all right, what are we doing?
Right.
'Cause,
No, I graduated college 2013. So it's been like 7 years of what does life look like now? Because I didn't get any corporate opportunity or job offer coming out of college. Were you looking to be in the job market, or since you knew, like, just as a kid, like, you're like, no, I think I'm going to work for myself? Like, what you even study in school?
I will see, that's the thing. When you're a college athlete, the main focus is the athletics part. I know that sounds really bad, but
Hey, it's the
that's the
truth.
that's the main focus, like the athletics part. Of course, you have to pass classes to play, but the main focus is to pass the class to play. It's not to pass the class because you're learning, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of focused student athletes who like, all right, I'm going to be an engineer and I'm going to play. There's a lot of those. But then again, there's a whole lot more who are playing, studying to play. And I was one of those. I was just kind of passing the time in school so I could play. My major was business slash marketing ish. It was very vague. I changed like twice.
Yeah.
um, yeah, academically, I didn't know. I had no idea, but I never saw myself corporate. Again, I was just focused on the tennis. I think it was really after my dad passed away in 2011 that I was like, all right, life is like serious. And so I ended up not graduating. I actually just dropped out and came home and started my clothing line. Really, I just like jumped into it.
Um,
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely think like those big life experiences definitely kind of play a role in forming what our future looks like, what we're focused
Hmm.
on, what we value, what's important.
Yeah.
For me, when I was a junior in high school at 16, when my mom got incarcerated, I was like, okay, so now what? Because my dad kind of chimes in here and there when he wants to.
Hmm.
And, I was my mom's firstborn, so I had like other siblings. And it's just like, I could not be victim right now. Like, I literally just have to like figure this out. And so
Hmm.
I feel like, those life experiences happen for a reason. And of course, to make us stronger and
Yeah.
even just be a pinnacle for other people. And that's definitely a shift that you have to do of like,
Yeah,
okay,
girl.
how do I pivot within this? So with you deciding to create your own clothing line, what were some of the, I guess some of the steps you take to be like, okay, well, this is what I'm going to do next? Because sometimes we like to be indecisive and just kind of sit there for a while, but what made you
Yeah.
actually take action towards doing that?
So after I was in college in New Orleans. So after I dropped out, I came home to Houston and connected with an old friend, and we started like brainstorming about things. And he had just dropped out. He didn't really know, but we had the clothing thing in common and the creative. So we are like, you know what? Let's see what this is, right? So we started with 2 T-shirts, 2 logos, two colorways, and just started like that. And then um, since my parents were really academically focused, they both graduated college. It's like a thing. My family. I think part of me was trying to still not please them, but still live up to the expectation of them. So I went ahead and enrolled in fashion college at Houston Community College, and I was like, you know what? If I'm gonna do this, I could at least study it, so my mom can like. She wasn't on me, but it would make her feel better.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So I went in the fashion school, and then during that, I guess, period of my life, I realized that my fashion thirst was more in the creative kind of marketing, visual part, and not so much in the sewing part. So the fashion like program that I enrolled in was straight up like sewing, and they teach you everything from the ground up. And I was miserable, and I was like, you know what? Pivot number two. So I transferred into like fashion business and more like business classes at HCC, and that's where I started to learn how to build your business from the ground up. So I would implement like what I'd be learning in class that day to my little clothing line at night, and just kind of using the class knowledge in real time
Mhm.
with what I was doing. Um, yeah, that's the
Wow.
best way I can put it.
No,
Hmm.
that I mean, I applaud you for that because so many people, a lot of people have a negative connotation when it comes to school. And
Hmm.
I just feel like we should always be increasing our knowledge in some way, in some form. And there's different ways for you to learn, but why not learn? Why not have that structure and just like apply and be a part of a program? And look at you,
Hmm.
you were able to apply it real time, which I didn't even know that because, I went
Yeah.
to HCC design school too. So, like, after I graduated, with my bachelor's degree, didn't have a job, didn't know what to do. I'm like, I love fashion. So I have my bachelor's degree in fashion and business. And then I enrolled at HCC in their design program. And after a year, I was like, I have an appreciation for the art of design and sewing and all of that. But I'm not trying to be behind the sewing machine. So,
Yeah, yeah, that was my thing too. I found myself wanting to skip class, and I was like, look, I just paid for this, and I don't want to like feel like I want to skip it. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And I just felt more capable of managing the sewing team than actually like sewing the
right.
clothing.
And that's you understanding like your strengths and weaknesses and truly
Hmm.
what you're passionate about. A lot of people, sacrifice and go to school and get all these degrees to satisfy others, but then
Yeah.
at the end of it, it's like, I really didn't do this for me. And so,
Hmm.
of course, like making your parents happy makes you happy, but
Yeah.
I'm glad you were able to identify like, okay, this is dumb that I'm paying for class and not going. Like
Yeah.
this kind of like draws the line. So
Hmm.
so even with like creating your own and thank God that you like were able to study and apply things real time. So on your journey, have you came across like other entrepreneurs that have necessarily, seen you as a role model or wanting to learn from you? Or has it been just a situation where you kind of been in your box and just like doing you?
Um, yeah. So my earliest memory of that happening was we were about maybe 6 months into the clothing line, and we decided to have a fashion show. And
I remember that fashion show. Was it in
yeah, it was.
Korea?
It was called One, and honestly, thankfully it came out to be way bigger than we had like anticipated or tried to have it. And after that, it was a lot of people like out of the blue messages and calls of like, hey, how do you do this, how do you do this? And honestly, it happens it's been happening till today, but I still have a weird relationship with that because I feel like I'm just like winging winging it.
You're
So
like, I'm this whole thing. Like,
yeah,
y'all want to learn from me?
so when people ask me and stuff, I feel great, and I try to be as transparent and helpful as possible, because I don't feel like withholding information makes you better than anybody. So I try to be as transparent as possible to help them out in any kind of way. Whatever they can take from what I said hopefully helps. That's the way I see it.
So with you saying like, you basically like typically just figure it out along the way, can you
Hmm.
give us a time where you like really finessed the situation and it worked out like exactly or even better than what you planned?
Girl. Okay. um so after we had the one fashion show, it was awesome. The feedback was great. So we're like, all right, we have to come back with two. And we had found this venue in, I think it was third ward, I think. It was like this old school like ballroom, and it was really cute, and it had a view of the city, and we were like excited, and we're like, yes, we're doing this. And so we had gone with that venue for like 4 months of the planning. And then when we were 2 months out from the event, Minute Maid Park reached out to me and were like, hey, I saw your event online. We were wondering if you'd like to have it here instead. And so we were like, what?
Minute Maid Park reached out to you?
And I was like, holy shit. Like, so part of me was like, no, we can't do this. Like, if I don't have a plan, I like freak out. So I already had my plan. Everything was like mapped out, and I was just like, ah. But then my partner, he was like, forget the plan. Like, we have to do it. So I'm like, all right. And then mind you, like, this was a charitable fashion show where we were paying for everything, with like whether it was via sponsors or donations and everything, but we were like paying for everything. So just to like put in perspective, the venue that we had was like $200 or something, like nothing crazy. And then Minute Maid was like 10 times that. And it needed a like upfront, and it was just like crazy. So I think that moment was like where I was like, all right, I'm gonna have a lot of faith, but I'm gonna finesse this. So it was like 2 months of like hustling, getting sponsors, getting everything together, like just really like taking that leap and not knowing if it was gonna like work out.
Yeah.
But then come the day of the fashion show, and it was like sold out twice. It was packed. It was like crazy, and it worked out. Afterwards, I was like, dude, that was a close call.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it gets to the point where you have to finesse so many situations. Like your level of fear tends to just kind of just decrease over time, because now you have this mentality of like, what can I not do, or why not try? Because you know, taking on the challenge is part of the work.
Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of people, they'll like say they want to do certain things and they may not be sure if it's for them. But I say it's the only way for you to know is if you actually try to do it.
Yeah. And I think how I gauge if like an opportunity or an idea is worth it is how it feels. So if I feel like that little fire in me, you know, that gut feeling that they say, if I feel that, then I know it's going to work out. But I also know that for it to work out, I have to work really hard. So, yeah, that's with everything. If I have that feeling, I'm like, all right, this is going to work out. I just have to figure out how to get to that point.
So speaking of feelings, what about those like bad feelings or like gut feelings? Was there a time where you didn't listen to your gut and you were like, damn it, I shouldn't have done that? Like, that was the bad decision to make.
Yeah. Yeah. So after the fashion show, the business partner that I told you I reconnected and started the whole thing with, we ended up getting married.
Oh, wow. Fair.
Yeah. So when we did that, we took another leap of faith and moved to New York and just like dropped everything here, sold everything, sold the car, like we sold everything and we moved. And then after a few years, when I got pregnant, we decided to move back. And so when we were back, we started to do different events here and there, and that's where the market came from, the brunch. So we started doing this consistently at this little venue downtown, and yeah, they were working out. It was like monthly, consistently. We had the plan, the flow was going, and then one day, the partner from the venue, we had a meeting, and my husband, he couldn't come. Something happened, he couldn't be there or something. Well, the owner ended up like finessing me into throwing another event for him. Just, I don't know, he had me up against the wall basically. And I just agreed to it. I don't even know why. You know, sometimes you just like, you have so much belief in yourself that you're like, whatever, I can make it happen, just to like please somebody else. But I knew, like, from the moment I said yes, I knew like that was not a good idea. So, but I couldn't back out.
Right.
When I told my partner, he was like, that's not a good idea, but whatever, you already agreed to it. And yeah, so we ended up throwing this random event. It was like 5 people came.
Oh, dang.
They had like spent all this money on like decorations, and it was just how I knew, like how I knew in my gut it was gonna be. That's how it was. And so
Yeah.
I was like, never again. I'll say no before I do this again.
So what do you feel like was going through your head when you say like your back was against the wall? Was it more so of him using, like, just trying to like paint the possibilities of a long-term partnership, and you're like, dang, I don't want to lose this? Or was it something else?
Yeah, it was 50. It was like part of that, and then it was part of like he was really selling the idea, and then it was part of making the money from it, and then it was just like, I don't know. I would think it was a spur of the moment thing, and I think my other half wasn't there to kind of like give me reason, and so it's just kind of like, yes, yay.
Yeah, I definitely had to figure out how I finesse conversations where, not necessarily where I'm not comfortable, but where I'm not sure. Because when you are like wanting to partner with other people, typically you're partnering with someone that, is bringing more to the table when you're freelancing and like really starting things out and testing out your concepts. And so you want to, honor their wisdom and vision, because sometimes we feel like they know more than us, sometimes they don't always know.
Yeah.
But and so that it's like that part. But so I used to always be the yes girl, like yes, 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 of course. And then I get back home like, how am I gonna, Googling whatever, just kind of like figure it out. But I realized over time, I'm like, it doesn't feel good when I do stuff I really don't want to do, and like have to put all of this energy and just my mental capacity and like physically, it's just was not benefiting me overall. And so I've learned to like not feel obligated to give people an answer when they're asking for it.
Yeah.
And depending on how they respond to that, and they're like, oh, okay, cool, yeah, no worries. But if they're like, really, I need an answer now, it's like, I may not want to do business with you at all. But just figuring out ways of, I started saying, let me think about it, or I'll say a hard no or hard yes. I use that. I'm like, okay, it may be a soft no, soft yes, but try to have some type of gray area where I'm not fully committed, but the person I'm talking to know that I received the information and either like I'm somewhat interested or, so it's kind of tough to like get those conversations, but you have to figure out the best way to like be real with yourself, because you got to think about it. Who's doing the work here?
And like you said, if your heart is not fully into it, it's gonna feel like a drag, and it's gonna get half done, or you're gonna rush it at the end, and it's just, you're gonna be miserable the whole time. So
I know we skipped over this, but let's go back to this business partner to marriage lifestyle. How does that, I mean, granted, I could say how, but I get it. Like, if y'all are both building something that y'all are passionate about, it's like, why not build a family together and just have all this stuff be together? But I know some people want to keep it separate. So what was I mean, of course, I know he did his due diligence and proposed when he wanted to, but of course, I know you guys had a discussion about wanting to, take things to the next level.
It was just a smooth transition. It wasn't ever forced. I think when we reconnected, we were both not looking for anything. We were just kind of like going with just being creative, going with the flow. And for a long time, it was platonic. For a long time, like a year of the whole clothing, like working together, the whole thing, it was strictly platonic, like nothing. And then it just started developing and growing, and it was natural. Like it's never been forced, you know what I mean? And that's my biggest thing. And even with like gut feeling, I never was like, all right, let me like jump, you know what I'm saying? It was always like, I always check back with my gut clock, and I'm like, how do you feel? And I'm like, all right, this is good. And it just transitioned over time. And I think the most rewarding part has been like growth, like the growth between the relationship and the growth as individuals that we've seen in the past few years. So it was just pretty smooth. It was never like a hard conversation. I think it just developed over time, and we were both down, so it just kind of grew.
So how are y'all able to just kind of separate it and like make sure that you guys are investing time in the relationship as well as the business?
Yeah, so at the beginning we were doing the clothing line together, and and it was like together with the brand, together, and it was just like a lot of togetherness. And then after a while, he decided to focus more on his music, and then I decided to branch out and focus more on like women targeted events, and we just kind of naturally split professionally. But not really. Like, he's still my number one advisor, chairman of the board type thing. Like, I always ask him, I always go to him for like questions, and he always comes to me like to play me the album or like ask me little things. So we're still there for each other. But I think part of the success is the separation. And also, I mean, we were kind of forced. The whole clothing line that we had, it kind of dissipated because our third partner, it just didn't work out. So naturally it just
Yeah.
dissipated. It wasn't ever forced like, oh, I don't want to work with you anymore. No, it just kind of fell apart naturally, and we decided to focus on our separate areas.
Yeah.
So um I think when you're in it though, as far as like your partner is your business partner and your love partner, you do have to know when to talk about this and when to talk about that and when to
Right.
like separate it, because it can be a lot when it's all on all the time.
Yeah, no, for sure. One of the guys I dated in college, I helped him start his clothing line. And so it was kind of like that was our life. And we were just focused on developing that from samples and different things. And I'm always that like ride or die where I'm like, okay, let's do it. Let's do the work. I'm all in.
Hmm.
And so over time though, it was more so like the relationship wasn't really the priority. It was just like
Hmm.
figuring out how to get this next collection out, or creatively just what the vision should be, and marketing and events to spread the word. And it was just,
Hmm.
yeah, like there was no heart and soul in us. It was all in what we were creating. And so to needless to say that we separated, that
Hmm.
didn't necessarily work out. So yeah, like business and like just love relationships are just tricky. And I think for me,
Yeah.
after that, I was like, I don't think I want to date anyone that does what I do, because
Hmm.
I talk about work a lot. Like it's just, I mean, especially like if that's what I full time do, is
Hmm.
so I need to like escape that sometimes.
Yeah, and I think the biggest tip or advice or, pointer that I would give from experience is know not to take it personal. Like when it's about business, your partner, like if you guys are having an argument or a discussion about something in your business and you don't agree, you have to know deep down inside that they're not picking a fight with you, that
Hmm.
this is about like the business situation. So like after this we can still go have lunch and be all right. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
I had to learn the hard way because I would take things like super personal and get like so emotional and just like and then so I'd be like the emotional one and then he'd be like the pissed off one who he just be need his like moment. But we would still be like, all right, you want to go have lunch? Like, you know
Right.
what I'm saying? I think recognizing that and being aware is really important because you can really get like riled up and into like what's going on, and it can take a toll on you if you let it.
Yeah, I think having that level of transparency is just important, um, in business as well as relationships. Like, I mean, I know you're married now, you're a mom, and all these beautiful things, but some of us women are still out here, you know what I'm saying? Figuring out what dating looks like. And
Hmm.
I know I've been dating myself for a while, to where I know I used to feel bad when I would just like not give a guy too much time, or like too much attention, or involve myself
Hmm.
too much. Because I'm like, okay, Precious, you need to be open minded. You need to get to know people, blah, blah, blah. But now that I know myself so much, I feel so good when it's like 3 weeks in and I'm like, yeah, that's not it. And I could just, keep moving. But I don't think people, or I say guys, are um, used to a woman being so transparent and honest, and like,
That's a good point. I think from the outside looking in, as far as dating and all that in our age, I think the biggest thing that you have to look for is somebody who is really honest and transparent, and somebody that you know is going to be honest no matter what, like whether it hurts your feelings or it doesn't. That's really helpful. Like, I've gotten to that point, so now I'm developing the skills. But I will say that my husband, from the get go, he's always been like super blunt and honest, and it can come off like being a jerk or being, just yeah,
yeah,
whatever. It can come off as whatever, but at the end of the day, it's what helps things work because it's honest. So
yeah,
whatever he's telling you is exactly how he's feeling. So that took me a while to develop because I'm very protective. So I don't want to hurt people's feelings. I care like how you think of me, and I don't want to say the wrong thing, but that would get me in a lot of trouble later.
mhm,
Like my cushioning feelings would come back and bite me later instead of opposed to him being up on like upfront.
yeah,
later or now they know what it is. So it's no, there's no coming back to it.
Right.
I would just drag out situations. So I think in relationships, you want to make sure that either you are the really honest one or your counterpart is really honest.
Yeah.
And then you just help them with delivery. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're like,
Yeah.
all right, I
Delivery's
feel you.
everything. Yeah. It's
I
like,
feel you, but like, don't say it like that.
right. And I think some girls get turned off to, you know, guys already don't know how to express themselves. So when they're being honest, like, accept it. And then if you really are interested in continuing to get to know this person, just have conversations about the delivery of it, because sometimes it's
Delivery.
like,
Yep.
hey, I appreciate you for telling me that, but we could have like reworked that a different way. And I can say,
Mm-hmm.
just me growing from a business perspective and as a leader, I've had to force myself to navigate conversations that I catch myself in unexpectedly, where if say I'm having a meeting or something, or I say I'm on a call and someone shares something that maybe they're uncomfortable with or having trouble with, or maybe I didn't like how they handled a certain task or something. As a leader, I can't allow that to go on for periods of time because I don't want to talk about it, or
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to make that person feel a certain type of way. I'm leading a whole organization, so I have to have those upfront conversations to not stifle the productivity of everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had to learn how to like read people, understand just the psychology of how they think, and just like even their love language. Like I've started, anybody I'm working with, I want to know their love language. So I'm like, how do you like to be loved? How do you like to be appreciated? That way I
Mm-hmm.
know how to just really maintain a relationship, because people want to feel good about, what they're doing and knowing
Yeah, and I think
their
in
value.
in entrepreneurship, that's a really good skill. Like, you have to be really receptive about how people take things, because you can say like, don't take it personal, I didn't mean it like about you, but just saying it doesn't mean that they're getting it, that they're understanding it. So you have to, your people skills go beyond being able to talk to people. I think it's being able to listen and really like capture how to speak to somebody.
Mhm.
um and I would say the only way to do that is to practice it, like to
Yeah.
be in those uncomfortable situations. Again, I hate confrontation. I'm like super Libra when it comes to that. I like do not like it was like, it used to make me sweat. It was terrible. But again, um my husband would push me in these situations. He'd be like, this is your brand, this is your show. Like, if you don't want this person a part of it, then you have to go tell them. Like, you can't. And I'm like, oh, But I think being able to do that effectively and come out of that conversation still cool with the person, like where they understood you and it's all right.
Right.
That's what matters.
Right.
Um, and that's what I look for when I'm going into an uncomfortable situation. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna help them understand where I'm coming from, and we're gonna be good afterwards. It's gonna be all good.
Right. I would love for you to share with them how we pivoted with Faith and Finesse with our event. So, look, Manuel and I have been knowing each other for like 6+ years now. We like,
I think we met at fashion school.
yeah, we met at a fashion show. We were both interning. Um,
Hmm.
and so we loved each other from afar, and we're like, this is the year we're going to do an event together. We're going to do a collab together. So the year we decided to do that, we were underway of a global pandemic, and it was early March, and we started hearing about it, and we decided to just kind of be innovative and say, hey, I know we were going to have an event of like, I think we had like 70 tickets sold at that time.
Hmm.
And it was a women's appreciation event. Like, we had pamper stations, all these different cool experiences, in-person experiences we wanted to create to show our appreciation for women. And we had to transition it online. So yeah,
Yeah.
maybe you give them a little behind the scenes of like what that process was like for us to like pivot that fast and then
So
just like
stressful.
actually pull it off.
Um, yeah, that was really stressful, but not in a bad way. Like, it wasn't like depressing, it was just stressful. Um, Making a decision. I think once we made the decision firmly and we're like, we're doing it, then it was all right. It just started to flow. But I think um getting to the point where it's like, all right, we have to do something different. Yeah, I think you have to, again, listen to your gut feeling in the tough situations, because like she said, we've been hearing of this, and large gatherings and the government and all this stuff. And I think this was the week it all was like starting to like get to America. It was just crazy. um and it was like, do we cancel, what do we do, blah blah. And then we decided to go digital. And I think the response, I remember being on the phone with my speakers and a couple of people, like some of the partners and stuff. The response was like 50-50. Like some of them were like, yeah, we're down, I'm with you, let's do it. And then some of them were like, no, straight up, this is a bad idea, don't do it, it's gonna be all right, yada yada. And I think it was being able to clear through the noise and speak with each other as partners and be like, all right, what do we do?
Yeah.
I think once we made the decision, then it was full go. And we ended up being really innovative, because literally after that, everything's been online. Like
Yeah.
all the biggest summits, like for example, Create and Cultivate, they're doing like the whole thing is online, and everything now is online. And we're like, wow. Like I remember maybe 2 weeks after that, or a couple of weeks after that, my husband was like, dude, you and Precious were on something, because now like everybody
Right.
and I'm like, and we were this close to like canceling it. Like we were this close to being like, no, whatever, we'll just cancel and come back later. And um but then again, I don't know, I think the physical is always best, being there physically and connecting physically, but being able to provide something regardless. We were able to connect, all the ladies were able to talk, the chat, everybody was, they were able to receive something, and still have a good time. And I
Yeah.
think that was really important.
Yeah, and then I know once we made that decision, it was probably 3 days before showtime. And so we put in the hours, we put in the work.
Girl.
We're like, how do we deliver this message? We were just I think once you, like you said, like once we made the decision, we forced ourselves to find solutions for every other
It was
problem
no going back. It was
that
no
would
tiptoeing.
come.
It was no going back. Yeah.
Yeah, so once you guys make that decision to pivot,
you have to pivot.
You have to pivot and just like keep going and just knowing like, okay, the solutions are gonna find me. Like you can't even like invite any type of negative doubt or fear. And granted, it comes when you're trying to make the decision, but once you're like, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah, once you agree, you have to go full throttle, because if you keep that doubt in your mind, then all your decisions moving forward are not going to be as concrete and full faith as they are if you have that doubt. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, honey. Yes. Okay, so we're gonna wrap with some rapid fire questions I have for you.
Okay.
So they're kind of like this or that style. So,
let's do it.
Oatmeal or smoothie?
Smoothie.
Talk or text?
Talk. Please call me.
Hip hop or R&B?
Oh, R&B.
Wine or margarita?
Margarita.
Red lip or pink lip?
Red.
And what is your definition of love?
My definition of love is understanding without boundaries.
That's good. I haven't heard that one.
You have to understand. You have to be willing to understand.
Yeah, because sometimes people don't care. They're not even interested in understanding.
But no, and I think understanding breaks down walls. Understanding like diminishes hostility. Understanding brings you on the same page. Understanding allows space for love, right? Because if you're at odds with somebody and then you put yourself where they are and you understand why they're reacting the way they're reacting, then it goes away. It's a even playing field, and you can really build from there.
Oh, I love that one. That's good. That is good. So yeah, if you want to give us, any encouraging words, to just kind of get through the rest of the year for all the entrepreneurs, just still grinding, still, figuring stuff out and wanting to accomplish their goals. If you can give any encouraging words, that'll be good.
I would say if you have an idea and you haven't started, take the steps to get started. I don't want to put on the pressure of, you have all this time in your hands, you should be doing something, because you don't. This is a time of a lot of confusion and weird energy in the whole world, you know what I'm saying? So don't put too much pressure on yourself, but if you have an idea, start to build on it slowly and give yourself deadlines. For example, I'm going to do this tonight, do this today, and it's going to be done by Friday. You know what I'm saying? Give yourself little deadlines with some cushion for mental health. But if you have an idea, start building on it, even if it's slowly.
Yes, that's good. Cushions for mental health. I like that one too. I'm going to have to quote you on that. All right. Well, I love you and I appreciate you.
Love you too, girl.
I'm definitely excited for us to, do our event in real life whenever that makes sense. So
rendezvous. I've been thinking about it already. I've already been
vibes already going.
Yeah.
Okay, boo. Well, yes, thank you. I appreciate you, and we will be in touch.
Thank you so much. Thank you for everybody who watched, and I'll see you guys online for now, but hopefully we get to connect in person soon.
Yes. All right.
Bye, girl. Bye.